But hi, my name is Michael Sharkey. You are Anthony Polakemi. Sometimes they call you Spanish.
Hello, Michael Shark, as I sometimes call you, my friend.
That's true. All right. So a lot on the plate today.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure where I want to take the direction around the conversation that we talked about a few minutes ago, whether I want to dive directly into you, which I may.
Yeah.
Or we
get
dive
in here, man. Get into these waters.
It's but as I have been saying through the month of June, as we have begun the process of Let's Get Real, as we've begun this radio show every Saturday at noon Eastern here on 102.5 FM, The Bone in Tampa, or if you're streaming on iHeartRadio or any of those apps, thank you, because you're part of something at the at the infancy, at the very beginning.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. You know what? I could say the same
You know
thing.
what I mean? Hell yeah.
I know. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You.
Hey, but you know what? That's how all good shows start.
I agree.
Have you ever listened to Joe Rogan's very first episode of the Joe Rogan Experience?
That's a great question. I actually don't think I have ever listened to his very first episode.
It's like the first 12 minutes is just him and Jamie like trying to figure out how to do streaming.
That's awesome.
Like that's literally how it started.
Yeah, I love it.
And now it's the biggest YouTube or the biggest podcast in the world. And it literally started with two dudes high as a kite going,
Yep.
I don't know, man. What does this button do? Seriously, if you want, go back and listen to episode number 1 of the Joe Rogan Experience. It all has to start from somewhere.
Yes.
That's my point. And one of the things that we have done as part of this show is we have a podcast and we have a YouTube channel that we have begun. As I showed Anthony at the very, very beginning of the show, a document that I wrote at the beginning of June was simple goal, 100 YouTube subscribers by June 30th.
Yeah.
That means we have basically today and tomorrow to get 19 more subs.
We can do it.
So, as I was saying last week at the beginning of every segment, and as I will do today, go to Let's Get Real Radio Show on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, hit the notification button, because what you're going to see on there is we put up usually 1 or 2 segments from this show. So if you miss a segment, like what I did last week, and I really, I thought about him a few times, Josh, who called in with his wife with the bone and the breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And I put up that segment. I put up Josh's call, then specifically the callers we got in the next segment of people supporting him.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which I thought, if you want to know what Let's Get Real is about, that's it.
Mm-hmm. A good reminder of community, which I love.
Right.
I'm very appreciative of that.
Like when I was thinking of like, hey, let's do this radio show on the bone about guys and feelings and crying and all that. A lot of it was, when at first understanding that it takes courage to actually call. And I acknowledge that. 1-800-771-1025 if you have that if you feel that conviction and that courage today. It takes courage to call. This is very much like whether you want to look at this as like a group coaching or whether you want to look at this as an AA meeting would be similar, is that in those environments, only a handful of people actually speak. It's mostly people listening and experiencing what they need to take away from the moment without ever raising their hand, in this case, without ever calling the radio station, So what was so awesome about last Saturday was that Josh needed a place to process learning that his wife had bone cancer, learning that his wife has breast cancer, 5 kids between 15 and 21. And then the next segment with Brian calling, and it was another woman whose name escapes me. So anyway, all of that is on YouTube. So that segment is on YouTube. Spanish and I get together a couple times during the week. We were at Grassroots on Central Avenue, my home away from home, sitting outside on Central Avenue on Thursday, talking about giving it up to God.
Yeah, man. You say talking about giving it up to God, but I left there going, another great therapy session with Michael. Thank you, universe.
That is kind of funny,
yeah.
Actually.
You know what I mean? I was looking forward to it. It always, I don't know if you could just see it on my face now or what it is, but even when I try to hide emotions from you, you just seem to know. And so I was like, I'm just gonna tell you. It was a great therapy session. So thank you for making me feel better. It's nice. It's nice.
I'm very happy to do that.
Yeah.
I comically and laugh when I say that I go into those like, hey, let's get together. Like, hey, we're just going to record some cool content. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that.
We don't have to be serious or go into anything deep today. Come on, man.
As soon as you walk up, I'm like,
something's going on.
Something's going on.
It's been a wild couple of weeks.
So, and we'll probably, let's dive into that in a second. But the point of all of that is we have this YouTube. We have 81 subs. My goal is 100. And like whether we talk about like, again, Joe Rogan, He started with high as a kite for 12 minutes of dead air trying to figure out how to get a stream live. That is episode number 1 of the Joe Rogan Experience. And this is something where I do find it very, I say this to be inviting. I say this is that, both Spanish and I say this with a lot of sincerity and a lot of conviction, we believe in this thing we're doing. We believe wholeheartedly in this thing we're doing. This isn't just, hey, this is like a fun thing to do. Like, we actually, when we talk about this, we understand that there's a capacity here to help people. There's a capacity here to have some fun, to be entertaining, to do something really interesting on radio that we've gotten feedback from people around the industry that a show like ours just does not exist on the radio right now, which is
nice
pretty
to
cool.
hear.
It's very nice to hear. So we believe that is something that's cool. So if you're listening right now, if you're one of the first 100 subscribers on YouTube, you are a part of something in the very, 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 very beginning. And that's kind of a cool thing.
I agree. Listen, we talk about finding new music quite frequently and how often the young folk don't know that feeling of going into, Sam Goody or FYE and finding brand new music. But this is kind of what that feels like when you find something new, it's brand new, and then in 5 years, when everyone's like, "Have you ever heard of this?" and you're like, "Yeah, I bought the first album, bro, at the record store."
Yeah, I knew of them first. So if you subscribe to YouTube at Let's Get Real Radio Show, you will be one of the first people ever. So again, I say all that because, and I'm not trying to monopolize this entire thing just about us, but it's important to us. We want this to grow.
Yeah.
We want this to grow, and whether that grows on the Bone, whether it grows on YouTube, whether it grows at radio stations in and around the United States of America, we do see this as being something that's going to grow, and we literally are grateful for your support at this stage.
Yeah.
So,
and what I love, it's support on top of support. 'Cause I have this idea, Michael, that I didn't really talk to you about this off the air, so I'm going to spring it on you.
Sure.
I would love to do, how the Best Buy has the Geek Squad? Mm-hmm. I think we should have like a Hug Squad. You know what I mean? And when people are out of range that we can't get to, our Hug Squad could step in for support.
I do love that idea.
Right? Isn't that a good idea?
I love that idea.
I wish I could take full credit that a listener gave me the credit. I can't remember your name, sir. So if you're screaming at the radio right now, I apologize. But yeah, I love that idea.
I do too. I think it would be so cool with a vision of the show. And again, what I talked about with last week's segment with Josh and Brian is that it is a community. Mm-hmm. It's a community of guys. It's a community of guys who aren't afraid to get real, who aren't afraid to go deep, who aren't afraid to show emotion, who aren't afraid, who like when you walk up, if I envision walking, when you walk up to a group of guys, maybe you're going over to a friend's house for a football game. Think of that first interaction. Hey, what's up? What's up, bruh? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that is so often the depth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it never goes deeper than that.
That's it.
I had a call yesterday. I got connected. One of my coaches that I hired about 5 years ago connected me with this other dude, and we got on a Zoom call yesterday. I'd never met the guy. 2:30 yesterday afternoon. By 2:31, dude, we were covering God and signs and secret.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I told him like 15 minutes in, I was like, dude, thanks for just going right in.
Yeah, man.
Like by minute 10, he was sharing like his family trauma, and I was just like, this is what we're doing, huh?
Oh, dude, I love it. I love when you find those other authentic people that are like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Here's all my baggage.
Yeah,
first thing.
That's what this guy was like. This guy was like, I'm just going to jump in my family trauma. I was like,
all right.
Go right ahead, man. We're good. So the point is that this is this community. So your Hug Squad, the more we can find a community of huggers.
Yeah, huggers, lovers, whatever.
It's just like, look, if you're somewhere, you're in North Pinellas, you need a hug.
Hit me up.
Call it Jamie or Dan or whatever. Like, hey man, go meet at that Wawa so that you can give so and so a hug.
Right? Am I looking so far into the future that I've already thought of apps and how to make what our logo's going to be for the app? Maybe, Michael. Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
these are secrets unknown.
Well, one might believe that this is already all in existence, and we're just bringing it. We're just getting all the stuff out of the way so that the apps and the technology can be there. But the point is, at the core of it is a community. At the core of it is a community of guys helping each other. We are just facilitators in this conversation. So as part of that, it's something that we hold true. And I definitely want to talk a little bit more about this later on in the show. But yeah, it's important to us. It's important to us that we grow. It's important to us that we have the capacity to grow. And one measuring stick of that is subscribing to YouTube.
Yeah.
Another, just sharing. You gave me some big encouragement this week through something actually Mike said to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, around
That I was stupid? Oh, no, something different. Something different than that.
something more, a little more of substance. That
Okay, all right.
whatever it was about, like, hey, this is a weekend show that is actually people are talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I find to be not only very encouraging, but I'm glad because when we first started this, I knew going into it that people were going to, hit him up when they heard this on the weekends and either be like, this is total trash, or they'd be like, wow, I can't believe, Michael said this, or I can't believe Anthony said that, or whatever. Yeah. But it's probably more of people just dogging it. But he's like, this is the most interaction I've ever had with people for, one of the weekend shows. So I was like, all right.
Well, one of the things that, one of the great lessons learned as somebody who's been in radio for a long time, it's either the Rush Limbaugh or the Howard Stern effect. Whether they love you or they hate you, they still listen.
Okay, I like that.
So, and I don't think people are listening to hate us.
Not yet.
I don't think that's a thing. But I think there is a reality of people who listen to us and think, oh, those pansies.
100%. And we already know what that demographic looks like.
Yeah, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, dude. We're here for you too, man.
Yeah. And what I find in the very first conversation I had about this crazy idea about a show on the bone that leaned more into authentic conversations and empathy was the conversation I had with the general manager of this company. And I said, maybe we get laughed off the radio after the first show. And he said, even if you do, it would be a success. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
All right. So here's our phone number, 1-800-771-1025. Thank you again for listening. Super grateful for that. Super grateful for the subs on YouTube. We want to get to 100 by tomorrow. We're going to go to break here in a second, but I think I want to dive into you.
Oh, man. These waters run deep, Michael.
I was either going to talk about death or you.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you for the nice little dichotomy there.
Well, I just, you said it a minute ago, when we connect in the middle of the week and we record content, they've turned into these therapy sessions.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely are one of those people where, you're just easy to talk to. You're easy. I don't feel like, I've never felt judged by you, but whenever I leave you, I always feel better. There's never any sense of like, man, I'm an idiot. It's just more of like, all right, yeah, I'm going through what I'm going through, and I got to talk to you, and you always restore logic and reason with a little dash of emotion. And so it's nice. It's nice, man. I'm glad I get to do that with you, and I'm glad you are the type of person that can pull that out of me, because I know there are friends that I have that it's not easy to do that with, where we do when we show up to see each other, it's just a sup. Then we'll play video games or whatever, and that's about it.
Well, and there's a place for that.
Yeah.
But so you texted me this morning, and you texted me, and I do love the fact that your phone knows that the F word doesn't have a G and it's supposed to be capitalized.
That's right.
Do you mind if I just read this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So this is a text between Spanish and I about an hour and a half ago. Because we were supposed to meet at the radio station at 10:45. Mm-hmm. Michael, I'm an effing failure because I forgot my laptop bag. I'll be getting home around 10:50, and then I'll get to you shortly thereafter. My reply to you, which I don't know why I wrote this, but it was I was inspired to write it.
I know why you wrote
it. What I wrote was, you are a divine soul finding your way through this path of life.
Yeah, that's patience right there is what that is. So I appreciate that very much, more than you know.
Well, and I didn't say that in some sort of like, what kind of quirky thing can I say? Like,
no, you sent it too fast.
Yeah, I was just like, all right. And then this is your reply to me. I really appreciate you saying that. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get my stuff together lately. I haven't always been like this. I'm praying that there's a big breakthrough around the corner, and that's why nothing has been going right. And well, first of all, I'd like to unpack this, and I know we got about 60 seconds before we go to break. But the one thing that I would say at the beginning of this,
okay,
and maybe we can us and the community of guys can help unpack you today.
All right.
Or at least for the next segment, 1-800-771-1025, is when you put out into the universe, I am an effing failure and I haven't been able to get my stuff together. Those are powerful things that you might want to think differently about puting out into the universe.
I agree. But that in that moment, in that recorded moment of time on your phone there, that's who I believed I was, and that was what I was feeling very much so at that time.
But I know you're not.
I know, and I know that I know sometimes I can be, and sometimes I'm not. For the majority of the time, I don't feel like I am. But recently, like especially these last 8 to 9 months, but even more so in just like this month, there's just like all these little things that seem, it really just feel like I forget what the law is or whatever, but anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Okay. So I want to unpack this with you.
All right.
I want to unpack literally the last probably 3 weeks.
Okay.
And whether it's girl trouble or any of that, let's just figure it out. Let's just figure your stuff out.
I'm in.
Let's get you unstuck.
All right.
1-800-771-1025. The show is Let's Get Real on 1025 The Bone.